Same thing we've done before. We've had it a couple times this year. Short turnaround times. We prepared one day last week for Alabama already. We took a day in between. I really wish Chelsea hadn't have said that in our press conference, but whatever. We prepared for Alabama one day last week, so the quick turnaround is not too big of a deal for them, but then to turn back around and get ready for Florida again, we've been doing it all year, so it shouldn't be anything new.
Building off of a win like that, that's the most important thing, I think, for you guys right now, is to not have a letdown.
And it's a change in aspect. There's more people here today. The kids had 488 text messages after you beat Tennessee. Gafford's tweeting at you. People that don't normally tweet at you are tweeting at you. You go from having a little chip on your shoulder of people are calling us underdogs to now you're expected to win. So it's new for some of these kids. Some of these kids hadn't had this since they were in high school. Some of them hadn't had it since they played for USA Basketball or wherever. So it takes a new approach. It will change how we feel. There's no question about it. It's just human nature, so we'll see how we handle it.
I don't think Mal got asked after the game, but the way the game ended here last year, for her to turn the ball over at midcourt to hitting the game winner, I mean, what does that do, you think, for her confidence?
I don't think she thought about it either, but just the number of times she's had to have seen that thing replayed and seen it, it's got to be good as a senior to have that happen and then do it on the road. You know, I know she felt responsible last year. It's always that last play that everybody magnifies, but if Mason doesn't hit that three at the top of the key with 48 seconds left, or Chelsea doesn't drive it down there, or we don't get to stop it, they all magnify. So I think Mal, with the injury to IT, she had a different mindset in practice those 2 or 3 days too. So I think that'll continue to carry over this week.
That mindset with her for having to play as many minutes as she did and have the success she did, how much can you build off of that?
A lot. And I think too, it forced her and I to have a conversation ahead of time about. And I pulled her out right before the start of the game and said, "I'm going to take you out around every media timeout. You're going to get 20 seconds extra rest here." And then she doesn't have to look over her shoulder like, "Why am I coming out?" She knows why she's coming.
Welcome back. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat G and Sports Talk Radio. We come to you live each and every day here on KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And we had audio from yesterday's media availability with Coach Mike Neighbors following Arkansas's big road victory at Tennessee and Knoxville this past Monday. Arkansas host a very good and also a team on the rise in the women's basketball collegiately. Alabama Crimson Tide comes to Fayetteville and takes on Mike Neighbors and his Neighbors Hogs tonight at 7 p.m. tip-off, Bud Walton Arena. If you hadn't had a chance to see these young ladies, be sure and get out and watch a very good basketball team. This is a program, I'm telling you, Demetrius Sleeping Giant is waking up. So you better get out there and check those ladies out. A great brand of basketball. I enjoy watching them. But we got a good show for you today. At 1:15, we're going to catch up with Big Blue Nation's Kevin McGuffey. We're going to talk UK basketball and what's the outlook, when he looks on into the future for this football team in year 7 there with Mark Stoops. And I want to bring in my co-host, Demetrius. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling, enjoying the day.
So we got these new mics for those that are sitting set. We got new Christmas gifts. We were good enough in 2018 that Santa brought us gifts to improve our set and the sound quality. And it's really something that we enjoy, but no, I'm just messing with you a little bit. Demetrius, any coaching news? Any new defensive line coaches that we might know of, or what's going on in your life today?
Nothing. I'm just enjoying the day.
You always enjoy the day, man. That's all you do.
It's payday.
Well, I guess we can enjoy the day.
It's payday. Okay, everything good on payday.
Arkansas came out last night, 72-60, winners at home to get their second conference win to go 11-7 on the season, 2-4 in the conference. They're about to take a road trip and take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, another team on a 3-game losing streak in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And make a note, we will have audio as Coach Mike Anderson was made available to us yesterday as well to talk about this upcoming, or he recapped Missouri. And we also had post-game with sophomore center Daniel Gafford and Isaiah Joe. They're going to come on and let you hear just how they felt about getting this win, getting that taste out of their mouth, 4-game losing streak, things that they felt they had to do, and that they felt they did real well last night in the 72-60 road win. But we're going to step away. We caught up, like I said, with Coach Mike Anderson. Here's Mike's preview or post-game. I don't know why I'm off today. But anyway, we're going to continue to talk as he gets that available. I mean, I'm messing him up. It's Thursday. It's been a long week. That's still no excuse. But, the thing that I'm looking forward in this upcoming game with Arkansas and Alabama to women, I think, as Coach Neighbors said in his press conference, how will they handle it? I think, this is the type of team and these are the type of players, they're born for this. They expect to be in this situation. Playing these types of games, going into environments like the Tennessees and, competing quite well. And, for the most part this year, they've played some real close games. But Arkansas had a close one for the better part of the first half and a little bit in the second. But they took control. We caught up with Coach Anderson. And here's what Coach A had to say.
Just proud of the effort of our guys. I thought for 40 minutes, I thought we tried to create tempo, and the tempo was created by our defense. Even when we were down 13 early on, I just thought we just had to get, kind of like you have a nightmare, you're trying to get the sluggishness out of you. But thank goodness for our bench. I thought our guys coming off, Desi and Keyshawn Embry, I think Gabe came off the bench, Reggie Chaney came off the bench. And I thought those guys really kind of changed the tempo defensively, just really getting after it, getting in lanes and getting steals, getting to the basket, getting into their defense. And to me, I thought that was critical, getting back in the game. Of course, Missouri came out, and I thought some of the nervous turnovers we had, we saw those, and that's why they were able to score. And of course, Dan, they're not going to let Dan do anything. They're just playing off of those guys that the guys that are playing that power position. And so we were able to put some guards out there and kind of spread the floor. I thought that was a little different, gave us a little bit better flow. Second half, we shot the ball a little bit better, got really into a nice rhythm. And what can I say, going down the stretch. We talk about a game of runs. You don't know when it's going to come, but it came right there, I think with 4:27 to go. It's a one-point game. And our defense kicked in, our offense kicked in, and you could just see our guys were really they were engaged and played with that intensity that I've been looking for. So again, Missouri, Smith, he kept them in it. He kept making shots after shots. But our guys, I got to give them credit. They had some adversity, but they hung in there, and it was a good team win.
Yeah, Mike, you guys obviously been struggling. What's going through your mind when you're down 17-4, and I think you're 1 for 12? What'd you guys do to get it going in your direction? Well,
we brought some energy off the bench. I thought the guys came off the bench and they created some offense with their defense, and we were able to score, get some easy opportunities, some layups, and before you know it, kind of broke the ice. It's kind of like it was kind of chilly, I guess, out there on the floor. But eventually we broke the ice with our defense, and then I thought we got into a much better rhythm, and we actually start force feeding the ball in there to Dan, and you saw him go up and score some baskets with 2 and 3 people around. And it tells you what kind of player Dan is. I mean, he gets a double-double when they're really just throwing people at him. But we were able to, again, go a little smaller, spread the floor, get in the gaps, and knock some shots down.
Welcome back. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here on KDSJ 479 from 1 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we want to continue on, as Arkansas is not the only team that we cover in the SEC. There's other basketball going on, and quite some very good basketball taking place in Lexington, Kentucky. So we thought we'd catch up with our good buddy of the Big Blue Nation, Kevin McGuffin. Kevin, welcome back to OTH, my man.
Hey, Pat, thanks for having me. How you doing? Good to talk to you again.
I'm doing real good. It's a little cold, but not, real
Yes.
snowy. So I guess if I could get one or the other, I'd have to take the sunshine. But I know things are going real good for you guys down in the Big Blue Nation country. Kentucky's playing some good basketball, man. They've got on a roll here, Kevin. Let's talk about how Coach Cal is feeling about his ball club heading into this big Kansas game you guys are going to be hosting on Saturday.
I think, Coach Cal and the Cats are feeling really good. One winners of, 5 in a row. Well, not 5 in a row, but minus the Alabama game. I mean, they've been playing really, really well. And, a lot of it has to do with Ashton Hagans. Back before Christmas, Quade Green decided to transfer out of the program, ended up at Washington now. And Ashton Hagans has come in and played a more important role in the team. And you can just tell – you can just see the difference like night and day. He's going to be, I think he's in the mix, should be in the mix for like a defensive player of the year, category. And he, before it's all said and done, he could end up being one of those, Coach Cal has these guys, that you never talk about, you never hear about at the start of the season. And then all of a sudden they played their way up to a possible, first round pick in the NBA draft. And that's what, what Hagans has done. I think he's really been the key, week, sparking this team.
When you look at that, that's the big question I wanted to pose to you. This is not a team that is just littered with McDonald's All-Americans, top 5 players, one and dones. They have a few, but not to the degree that, has been going on the last couple of years. Talk about the coaching job that Coach Cal has been able to do with these guys to buy in, because, when you go back to that Duke game, first game of the year, I know they walked off that court with a lot of questions. Hagans is a guy that stepped in, but talk about the coaching job that Coach Cal and his staff have done this year, which I think, has to be commended because they're having to do some coaching this year. Yeah,
the running joke is always about John Calipari is he just rolls the balls out there and lets the guys, do their thing. But no, you're 100% correct. If you watch, from that Duke game to now, you can just see, you can see them getting better every year, and almost with maybe just a couple, that's what happens every year. Like I said, Cal is usually gets talked about in like Coach of the Year categories, but now you as I said, you can just see it every day. I think Hagans has had a lot to do with that. PJ Washington has been playing really, really well. Keldon Johnson, Emmanuel Quickly, and of course Tyler Hero. All these guys have really, really come on in the last little bit. And as you said, Coach Cal and the staff have just done a great job. And we'll see, we'll see what happens, on Saturday against Kansas. It should be a heck of a game. I'm looking forward to watching it.
What are some of the keys that, in your opinion, Kentucky has to maintain during that game to come out with that home win and get the SEC a big one in that SEC Big 12 Challenge?
I think the biggest thing is they have to try to pound the ball inside. I think they've got a nice height, size difference, with Kansas. Kansas plays 4 guards at a time. I look for Reed Travis and PJ Washington and even, Nick Richards, looking for that's what I would do, but just pound the ball inside, pound the ball, try to get, the big guys that they do have, try to get them in foul trouble. And I think that's the biggest key. And then, on the other side, you've got key pick. Kansas loves to shoot the 3-pointers. Kentucky has had a lot of trouble at times with that this year. If they're able to, keep the limit that percentage, they're going to shoot them. They're going to make some, but you don't want like the guy from Alabama a couple weeks ago that just goes, nuts and has, a career night. But it always seems like that happens against Kentucky. There's always one guy that comes in, in Rep Arena and has a career night. But I think Kentucky needs to pound the ball in on the inside, and, the 3-point defense against Kansas is going to be probably the two biggest for me anyway, watching it, that's going to be the two things I'm going to be watching for.
Talking with Kevin McGuffey of the Big Blue Nation, talking Kentucky Wildcats, all Kentucky Wildcats athletics, and a big topic I want to talk about is no bigger topic in Kentucky than the football program. You guys went 10-3, ended on a really good note. Talk about the way too early outlook for Coach Stoops in year 7, and who's coming back? You lost Josh, Benny's gone. Who are some of those replacements that the SEC fans might want to keep an eye out on as far as Kentucky football goes?
Well, yeah, you're talking about the way too early thing. For the Last Word on College Football website that I write for, just for fun, I always wanted to do this. I'm like, I'm just going to do a way too early top 25, and I actually put Kentucky. I put Kentucky in at number 23, and a lot of people were like, "No, you're crazy. They're not going to be ranked that high." But I don't see why not. You have, like I said, you lose Benny Snell, best running back in the history of the program. Lose Josh Allen, best defender. They lose a ton of guys in the secondary, but they've got some guys coming back. Obviously, it starts with Terry Wilson. He has a full season under his belt as a quarterback, playing in the SEC. I think he's going to look, going to be, leaps and bounds even better than what he was at the end of last year. A.J. Rose will step in at running back. He'll be the heir apparent to Snell. He rushed for over 500 yards last year. And then you have, probably the most exciting guy, especially if you watch the Citrus Bowl. We always talk about Lynn Bowden. At the end of the season, he really came on. He had that punt return against Penn State. Those are three guys on the offense. And then, like I said, they have a lot of young guys coming in. Like I said, they lose almost the entire secondary. So that they're going to have to replace some guys there. But they're solid. Solid on the defensive line. Josh Paschal. He came back at the end of last season pretty healthy. He's healthy. We hope that he continues. After his cancer diagnosis. The pieces are there, and if you look at the schedule, by SEC standards, it's not the toughest schedule this year. And I think they can win 7, 8, at least 8 games again. And maybe go to another warm weather destination. Like I said, this weekend is recruiting. They're hosting a junior recruiting weekend for juniors, and what better time, right? The Kansas game. You got 24,000 people at Rupp, crazy, and I look for some. There's one guy in particular, Devontae Lee, a wide receiver out of Louisiana. He's a teammate of Amani Gilmore, one of the quarterbacks that Kentucky has coming in. He's visiting this weekend. He's probably the biggest name, that Kentucky has left on their radar. They signed, I think, 20 or 21 guys. They only have a couple spots left, but we'll see what happens after this weekend.
Which my last question I want to get off into is recruiting. You mentioned Devontae Lee. Michael Smith is a tremendous recruiter who, by the way, had a big hand in getting Gilmore. With so many great assistant coaches, moving around within the conference. John Scott goes from Arkansas to South Carolina. You got DB coaches leaving Florida and going to Tennessee, and they're going all over the place. Which the talent is starting to be balanced out. In your opinion, Kevin, I'm of the belief it'll be 2 years before we really start to see parity at its finest in the SEC. In your opinion, how long will that be? Yeah, how soon are we before this conference is really super talented and competitive?
I think that's a good assessment. In the case of Coach Morris in Arkansas, you guys didn't have the best season this year, but you have like an amazing recruiting class coming in, and it may not pay off. You may not see it directly this year, but in 2020, you're probably going to really start seeing those benefits. Yeah, I think you're right. Kentucky has come up over the last couple years. Georgia and Alabama are probably still right up there. Probably ahead of everybody else. But yeah, I think you're getting to the point where there's kind of a log jam there in the middle of about 6 or 8 teams. And then, like you said, I think Arkansas is going to be maybe, like I said, maybe in a couple years, I think Arkansas is going to be right up there, with them as well. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, we've seen what he can do already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we may get to the point where, all 14 teams, in the SEC get 6 wins and all go to a bowl game. That's, I know that's never been done, but that could be, it could be a possibility at some point. But, just the way – but then again, the way everybody beats up on everybody, you just never know. But I think your point is very accurate, very valid. I think maybe in a couple of years you might, start to see that. Everybody's like 6-6, 7-5, kind of like that. So.
Well, hey, my man, always thanks for taking time out with us. We'll catch up here in a week or so. But thanks for taking time out on the Hill, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Pat, man. I always love talking to you. I always enjoy it. And thanks very much for having me on. Look forward to doing it again.
All right, my man. You have a blessed day.
All right, thank you too.
That was Kevin McGuffey of the Big Blue Nation. Covers all Kentucky sports for us here on OTH. And Demetrius, Devonta Lee. We had Devonta on one of our previous stations that we were at about a year or a little over a year ago, going into his senior year, 4-star wide receiver, Michael Smith. Now, I'm going to tell you, it is not a coincidence that kids are starting to go to Louisiana, to Lexington. That's a direct reflection of the work and ability and just the way that Coach Smitty's able to build relationships, don't you think?
Yeah, I'll correlate that with Coach Smith leading here. And the defensive line coach, I can't think of his name right now. I just went blank.
Scott?
Coach Scott. I don't know why I said Smith, but Coach Scott leaving, with the kid decommitting as soon as the coach leaves. That just shows you how important your position coach and the relationships that they have with the guys they go recruit. Because usually when that position coach leaves, the player leaves with them. So that just shows you it's not always about who your head coach is. That's a good indication of if the child will come, but it's really up to that position coach to really go and sell and get that kid to really believe in what this program is truly and really about.
Now, I'm telling you, I'm a firm believer, and you hear me say this on the show all the time. Parity's about to come into this SEC in the football world. I really feel like, I agree with Kevin. Alabama and Georgia slightly ahead, but you want to keep an eye on LSU, and you want to keep an eye on Jimbo Fisher and those Texas A&M Aggies. I'm telling you, those two teams.
Oh, man, you forget about the Florida Gators. Don't forget about the Gators.
Florida, but I think when you think about teams that are going to take that tremendous jump, LSU. But nobody more so, I think, than Texas A&M. I think that's going to be the biggest jump in all of the league next year. I think he's ready.
I guarantee you Dan Butler shocked some people. And the reason why I say it goes back to what you just said about going to get those relationships, and he's going to get the coaches that when he was there and they had that tradition of winning, he's going to get those same guys. And to me, that's going to reestablish those old relationships that they once had at the University of Florida.
I am hearing Brick Haley and Marion Holiday were the two front names. I think both have ties. Holiday has ties to Chad Morris during his time at Clemson. They both were on the staff. Dabo Swinney and Brick Haley was the defensive line coach with John Chavis from 2009 to 2014 at LSU. So, and he has real good camaraderie with Coach Cooper. So you put those three guys, you put Brick Haley, and you put Steve Caldwell on that defensive line. And I'm thinking about it. You could add an extra defensive coach and have 6 defensive and 4 offensive coaches, because you could get, if you want to help out Chief, you could split up the linebacker, split up the defensive line, and split up the secondary, and not go out and get a special teams coach. Just have Coach Caldwell take over the special teams as just part of his job, or have several. But you just never know how Chad's going to go. But that's just made a note. Those are 2 names that I've heard to be hopefully the leading candidates, as they have ties to both the head coach and the defensive coordinator, that being Brick Haley and I think Marion Holiday. Marion played his collegiate career, I believe, in the SEC at Tennessee. So right there alone, the candidates, and I'll say it again, I do feel like this hire has to be of the minority descent. That's just me personally. I think that's what has to happen. You're recruiting South athletes, people. Mostly the athletes we know are African Americans. I mean, you want to be in the room and communicate with people that kind of can relate to some of your background, some of your dealings, and some of your walks of life. Don't you think, Demetrius? You're thinking about it, ain't you?
Yeah, I had to make sure I choose my words wisely on this.
Just
particular
put it out
subject. But yeah, I do. We've been talking about it for the last 3 days, and I do believe this is a huge hire as far as what he can get to come to the University of Arkansas, because he has to go get somebody that can, like you say, relate to the type of kids that you're going to be recruiting for that position. And when you look amongst the defensive linemen in the SEC, like you said, predominantly African Americans. So if you really want to go run a good business and have a good product, you have to go get the guys that are best in that position. And I think that speaks for itself.
Well, I know some guys that were best in their position last night. With that being said, freshman shooting guard Isaiah Joe and sophomore center sensation Daniel Gafford, they were tremendous as Daniel came in with 13 points, 10 rebounds. Isaiah finished with 23 points, 5 of 8. Or no, Isaiah was 6-11. Or no, he was 7 of 12, Demetrius. 7 of 12 from the three-point line. But we caught up with those guys, and here's their post-Missouri.
Guys, for both of you, how big of a difference, what impact did the turnovers they had in this game make in it? They had 24, y'all scored 27 off of them.
What mainly impacted the turnovers for them is our defense. It stepped up tonight. Like, we got back to playing that defense we played at the beginning of the year, where we was not letting people run their offense and certain things like that.
That's Hog basketball, speeding them up, making them force turnovers, and getting points off of them. That's part of the fastest 40.
Yeah, obviously you guys were struggling coming in, then you fall behind 17-4, and I think you were 1 of 12. I mean, what's the mindset? What'd you guys do to right the ship tonight?
We just got to focus in, stay together as a team, don't disperse, stay together, be strong, because we've been down in situations like this before and came back. So we knew that we could do it. We just had to start on the defensive end, and that's what we did.
What do you think about that, Dan?
I mean, like they said, we came back together. We came together and came out and played as a team, because we had guys that was trying to go in and get it on their own. We had to let the game come to us. We couldn't just go try to take it, because that's what was going to get us beat.
There wasn't any panic when you lost 4 in a row and you're down 13 real quick? Or?
Nah, not really. I mean, we were trying to get, like I said, we were trying to get our confidence back, and that's what we did.
Isaiah, the three-point shot you made to make it, I think, 65-59. It looked like they had Daniel sandwiched pretty good there. What did you see as that play developed?
I mean, I'm always moving, trying to screen for others. They're trying to screen for me. So when I got the ball, I knew I was open. I knew I had the shot, and I saw Dan down there. They was working him, so I knew I had to knock it down.
It was a 1-point game. A lot of 1-point situations, and then you guys finally got on a roll, 10-0 run to put them away. Isaiah, you hit a couple threes. Daniel, you got a shot in there. What was the key to that 10-0 run? How good did it feel to finally get some separation?
Well, we knew that we were getting into their legs. They were getting a little winded, so we just had to turn it up a notch, on the defensive end. They went a long time without scoring, and we were able to capitalize off of it.
I mean, we came out and we started playing fast basketball, like the basketball that we, used to playing. And, we got them tired. We started attacking, because I think 2 of their big men had 4 fouls at the time, so we were trying to get them out. So our main focus was attacking the basket and, finishing and, getting to the line.
For both guys, we hear the phrase must win all the time, but to end that streak, do it at home here. What does it mean to get that bad taste out of your mouth after the last couple of games?
Feels great. I mean, like I said, we got our confidence back, which, as you can see, we've been, getting manhandled the past couple of games.
Yeah, I mean.
Welcome back. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, as we let you hear audio from freshman shooting guard Isaiah Joe and sophomore center sensation Daniel Gafford, post-Missouri. The big Missouri win that they had to have that, Demetrius. It was a must-win. You can't go down 1-5 in the SEC, and in particular, really with this young basketball team that could have been fragile. 1-5, there's no telling which way this team could have gone, because you're still dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids that are still also having to get acclimated. I know people say, well, they've been here since June, they've been here since July, but still, you're getting acclimated because you have to deal with school. And you only went through a semester, and there, now you're having to deal with that second semester being away from home. So there's a lot going on. I'm not making excuses. That's just the maturation. My favorite word. I like that word. Yeah, I have to use it, I think, once every show. No, but what do you think about that, Demetrius? At what point do you stop using the word youthful and expect this team to just start showing, marked improvement? Which I see it, but to the fans' eye. I mean, what if you were a fan? What's your take on that?
Really, you probably won't see it to the latter part of the season, especially when you're dealing with the amount of freshmen we have in it. You're always going to be talking maturation and embracing the process with these guys just as a whole. Because I said, they're so raw.
Because we had Sid on last week on the show, and Sid even mentioned, it takes really about 2 years before you get used to playing with one another and understanding each other's tendencies. Where one guy might like the ball, another guy might like it, entered into the post this way. How does Mason like to come off a screen that I can pick and roll off of? Things like that. I think it's the maturation process. But I continue to see this team playing better. It didn't look like it in the 17-4 start of the game. It took them a while to get their juices going, but I thought they got a little bit back to their defensive ways as they, were performing earlier in the year. And I think when they went to that 4-guard lineup there before halftime, that really changed the flow of things. And Reggie Chaney, I just continue to be impressed with this young man. This is a guy that has energy, and I really think, Demetrius, he's better off the bench than he is a starter. In his 2 starts, hadn't played very well, not many minutes, but off that bench, just the energy, being that 6th man, and I think with him being able to sit on the side and really absorb how the game's being called, the tendencies of the guy that he's going to be guarding both on the offensive and defensive ends, all those things play a factor in the growth of a player, either it be a baseball, softball, soccer, track, football. It doesn't matter. There is a learning curve whether people want to hear it or not. That's just my opinion. There is always going to be a learning curve, and that's what Arkansas is going through. They were out there with, I believe, 2 senior guards. That was a very veteran Missouri basketball team, Demetrius, that came in here last night. And like I said, maturation. You just hope that you can take away positives each and every night out. Don't you think, for Coach Anderson?
Yeah, and I think last night was a huge positive. Like I said, they came away with a W, and I think that was the most important part, because there comes a point in time that you can teach all the fundamentals, you can run all the drills, but if you don't have the confidence behind your game to execute the things that you're learning in practice and executing when the crowd is there, all of that, it really doesn't matter. So, like I said, I'm just glad these guys got another W, and they can really focus on the next game and really try to keep the momentum going.
Well, we're going to play some more audio. We had a chance to catch up with Quanzo Martin, men's head basketball coach for the Missouri Tigers. Quanzo had a lot to say. I think you'll realize when you hear his audio, I think he was a little agitated. But being a coach, when you're up 17, playing as well as they were, and then to finish in the capacity, here's what Quanzo had to say. We'll let you hear it in his words.
So I thought they did a good job with their adjustment. They went with 4 guards, and it paid off for them.
Conzo, you're up 17-4. Arkansas has obviously been struggling. What were you thinking? What did Arkansas do to come back like they did?
I just think they went with 4-guard lineup. Again, at home, you make a couple shots, you get some steals, get the crowd into it, you make some plays. They did a good job, being aggressive, getting out of the pass lanes against us. And when we turned the ball over, they capitalized and scored the ball.
It just happened, but you get an idea what happened to Mark there and Javon.
I didn't talk to PB, but I think he sprained his ankle, but I hadn't talked to PB yet.
It looked like Javon was hurt too.
He got hit in his back early in the game. He hadn't had back issues, so I don't know his upper back, and that was it. So he couldn't really go in the second half. He tried to, but he couldn't go. So it happened for him early in the game.
That was your first time to face Isaiah. Joe, what'd you think of him, and especially his 3-point shooting?
He's a good shooter. He's a good player. And obviously you watch him on film, you know he's a talented player, but he's better than I thought he was when you see him in person because he's long, he can move, he's a good ball handler, he can shoot the ball. He's active, he's talented.
Arkansas is down at home, big. They start off 1 for 12. What do you think it says about them that they were able to come back and win like they did?
Well, I mean, I think, Mike's team's going to fight, so that wasn't the issue. You knew they would do that. Now, whether or not they could make shots and get momentum in the game, but you knew they'd compete and play hard. That was never an issue.
Konzo, you mentioned Arkansas's 4-guard lineup. Did you feel like they sped you guys up midway through that first half or anything like that?
Oh, they did. And the thing for us is to get over the top. So they press and get over the top and attack the rim. But I thought we didn't have anything. We didn't do a good job of meeting the pass, and that was one of the first things we had on our board defensively, meet the pass. And I didn't think when they got steals, we didn't meet the pass. Yeah. I thought Mark did a good job on both sides of the ball. I thought he did. Again, you watch film, you could say something different, but just watching it again, I thought he did a good job of being active, being aggressive, rebounding the basketball, and shooting. Yeah. I thought he was solid. Got to be strong with the ball. Got to continue to run offense. Got to get better defensively, but I thought he was okay. I just think being comfortable, being assertive, being strong with the ball. That's really it. I mean, it's just doing it, being consistent and doing it. He was up against obviously a very talented player in Gafford, and it can't be a personal matchup. It's just it's Arkansas against Mizzou, and I think that's the next step for him. Just really playing basketball. And it's not about a one-on-one matchup between me and you. It's just about playing the game.
Welcome back. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, brought to you each and every day here live on KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And real quick, as we're going to wrap this up, we had a great show today. We want to give a thank you to Kevin McGuffey of the Big Blue Nation for coming on and giving us the UK vibes on what's taking place in Lexington, both in the football, recruiting world of football, and the basketball world as well. I want to say thank you. Also,